Hi, Mick McQuaid here with a short talk about the persona. And this is meant to supplement your reading rather than to replace it. The reading I'm referring to, of course, being Cooper 2014, although a little bit of this is taken from Norman 2005. So the persona is a fictional person. The persona is a model. So when we develop a persona, we only develop the salient features of the model, the features that are salient to the digital artifact that we're designing. And the persona is specific. The persona is not general. If you try to build a car for the general population, it will wind up looking like a Frankenstein mobile with a little something for everyone, but nothing for anyone. So instead of designing one car for the general population, you design one car for Alejandro or Marge or Dale, or perhaps 3 cars. The pitfalls that the design pitfalls that we can overcome with personas include the following. The notion of an elastic user is a problem. That's when a user is stretched to fit arbitrary needs. This was part of the reason for the development of the persona. Self-referential design. So designers sometimes fall into the trap of saying that all my friends do it this way. Everyone I know is like this. And the designs don't extend beyond the needs of the designers in their immediate circle. And of course, we shouldn't be designing for edge cases as the focus of designs. That's often a problem for designers, focusing on edge cases. Why are personas effective? What is the rationale for using personas? First of all, they engage empathy. They're like real people, and real people engage your empathy. Second, they're research-based. So we use contextual inquiry, we use interviews, we use observation, we use secondary sources to develop personas. For example, in contextual inquiry, the highest level of notes, the highest level of affinity labels that you generate reflect the items of most interest to personas. And they're focused on one context, so they're focused on a single product rather than being cross-product. And they're not stereotypes, so they're archetypes, they're research-based, and so they avoid bias and assumption. And you can generate a set of personas with a range of behaviors. So what are our goals with personas? Well, the actions have motivations, known also as goals. And these motivations or goals organize our design thinking. And our design thinking happens on different levels, and these are different levels of cognitive processing that you may recall from Norman 2005, the visceral, the behavioral, and the reflective levels. And each of these levels deserves a comment. So the visceral level works fast. Visceral design designs for affect, and the experience goals are how the user wants to feel. The behavioral level is simple everyday behaviors, and behavioral design influences other levels, and end goals are what the user wants to do. The reflective level, on the other hand, is accessible only via memory. So reflective design refers to long-term product relationships. You can think of your own long-term product relationships as a product of reflective design. And they reflect your life goals, who the user wants to be. Okay, so then what are the steps that we take to design personas? First, we do a group interview of subjects by role. Second, we identify behavioral variables. Those are activities, attitudes, aptitudes, motivations, and skills. So those are the things that vary within a role. And we map the interview subjects to the variables. So here's a figure from Cooper, and it shows two cases, one where we've mapped the users to service-oriented and price-oriented. And this is for a specific digital artifact. So people may be price-oriented in some areas of their lives, but service-oriented in other areas of their lives. So this is just in this one particular area. And then, of course, whether they're interested in entertainment or they are only interested in what is absolutely necessary. So we identify the significant behavior patterns and cluster the subjects to behaviors, and synthesize characteristics and define goals, and we derive the goals from behavior. And we check for completeness and redundancy among personas, and we may design several personas. And we designate persona types. So the one type that you're required to do is the primary persona. That's the focus of your design. The secondary persona is somebody who's accommodated by your design but is not the focus. Supplemental personas, which are not strictly necessary, are just other possible users. The customer is who's paying for it, not the user of it. So those are often two different people. There could be a customer persona. There could be a persona who is served, who's affected by the product use, even though they're not using it, and an anti-persona, which is a persona that's out of scope. And this can be very important to develop, to identify what it is that you don't want to do with your digital artifact. Okay, and then finally we expand the description of attributes and behaviors. And we create a descriptive narrative and a photo collage. And we generally come up with a poster. And I have another video in which I'll show you a poster that's exemplary. This is a really good example of a poster. It contains a stock photo, a made-up name, a bio, and then there are several slider mechanisms that allow you to easily compare this persona to other personas. So having these little bar charts or sliders facilitates comparison between personas and figuring out what it is that a particular aspect of a digital artifact is going to affect for a specific persona. And these categories are good to use. Bio, personality, preferred channels, goals, frustrations, and motivations, and brands to some extent. And these should have natural clusters. Okay, so that's the end of this. So I also want you to watch the Persona Exemplar video and be sure to read Cooper 2014. Thanks for watching.